All right, SML. It's May 2nd. The draft is just finished this past weekend, and we figured why not just jump in and start a way too early mock draft. Everybody's kind of talking about what teams they might want, so let's uh let's break down what we've got. I've got Doink here with me, and I think we're set and ready to go. You ready to do
Yeah,
this, Doink?
let's get after it. Let's get after it. We got the eval rankings just came out, and NFL draft just happened. Like you said, it's so we're approaching the off season segment of the cycle.
Yeah, I was just looking at the calendar. I think we're maybe, I don't know, 100 days or so until Madden 23 comes out. Sitting
Yeah,
right about there if we mid September.
hopefully we start on time with scouting and whatnot works.
Yeah, I would think mid August the game will come out. Mid September we'll probably start after the first roster update, and so we might as well do our 100-day out mock draft. So I went with what I think the order's going to be, pretty much off of the spreadsheet, but I've got prime number one. Um, do we think there's any chance he doesn't go to the Colts after last time?
I I think there's absolutely zero chance he does not go to the Colts, given how he saw what happened with the Chiefs. He struggled to adjust that first season a little bit. He started to find his rhythm, and then Q knocked him off in the Super Bowl. But I think the big thing was the rumblings had already started that about his goatness, about if he can't win with the Chiefs, is this the biggest disappointment we've seen? That type stuff. And he went back to what works. He went back to his team. Oh, and Jonathan Taylor has freight train now, so lock it in.
Yeah, I don't see any way that that he doesn't go with the Colts. Like you said, Jonathan Taylor having freight train, that's just uh, I mean, hell, we see him just with evasive, and he likes that enough. So I think freight train, it's the Colts. I think he was disappointed, maybe not disappointed, but just didn't enjoy the uh, the Chiefs as much last year. So I think I like that pick when we're gonna put prime to the Colts. So pick number one, prime to the Colts. Pretty unanimous. I think everybody's gonna kind of ignore his smoke screens this year. Um, so now's where it gets interesting though, because now we've got Woods. Woods has been the Browns the last two cycles. Um, I picked ahead of Woods last time and took the Browns. Don't know if he would have taken him again. Um, but there he is sitting at number two in the mock draft. Who do you think Woods takes?
I would not be surprised to see him go back to Buffalo again. Actually, I think once you've used a Josh Allen type, I don't think you can go back to using the Mac Joneses of the world. I guess I have two options here. I think if he I could see him staying with Buffalo. Buffalo's added Von Miller. They've kept their core pieces. They brought in OJ Howard too. Gives you a little bit. That's a Madden tight end right there who does nothing in real life. The other option I could maybe see is just sticking with the escape artist, talented QBs is the Cardinals and that just mud of a roster.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard him talk about the about his Bills and how he wants to stay with them. Um, I wouldn't be super surprised if he just stayed with the Bills again. Um,
Yep.
so I'm gonna put him as the Bills again. He's even mentioned it in chat.
Yeah, I saw he basically mentioned just wanting to roll with Josh again, and this team only got better, and I imagine Allen will only get better as well.
Yeah, and something a lot of people might not remember or maybe weren't even around for, but um, last cycle he also had Josh Allen. I traded him Josh Allen towards the end of the cycle, and he did fairly well with him and seemed to like him. Then he gets the bump to superstar and X Factor this year, so not surprising that he would stay with the Bills. And like I said, he was the Browns twice before, so it's not like he's opposed to picking the same team twice.
Yep. Roll
And
with what works. Never mind the rest of those teams in that division. I guess Miami's now a pain in the ass to cover, but Pats and Jets aren't scaring anybody.
yeah, and I think the other thing with the Bills, they had a fairly good draft. At least the first two picks really kind of shore up any shortcomings with the Bills. They got
Yep.
Elam from Florida at corner. He should step right in and be a starter. And then you got another running back in James Cook, the brother of Dalvin Cook. So I think I see him staying with the Bills.
Yeah, especially if Cook comes in that 90 speed threshold, it's no matter who he is, it's going to be better than Devin Singletary or SML's favorite former Bills running back in Matt Breida.
Yeah, definitely better than those guys. And so next up is gonna be my pick, and I'll let you think where or say where you think I'm going, and then I'll give out where I'm leaning.
I I don't think you're locked into one team yet. This is just kind of me speaking anecdotally off. I know you've been pretty open talking about where you're leaning in chat and whatnot. We had a little talk today with Matthew going to the Saints. Saints have two Ohio State receivers.
Yep.
A lot of Ohio State receivers all over the league. I think you go WFT. That would be my best bet. I don't think you necessarily know where you're going yet. I may be wrong on that, but I think you want to get Chase Young while you can. McLaurin's there, Samuel's there. Never mind, we've seen what that D line can do, and if this most recent Madden update means sticks at all, which who the hell knows for next Madden, but D line play seems to be back.
Yeah, and Washington definitely would be on my short list. Curious to see, and this is going to go with all the teams, and obviously it could change for everyone, but I think how they do the development is going to make a difference. I feel like the Redskins or Washington or Commanders, whatever they are now, they Chase Young didn't really have the greatest season last year before he got hit. He kind of seemed to take a step back, and maybe they take him off a superstar. I don't think they will, but the injury, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen a guy get injured and then come back to a lower dev. So right now, I'm actually I didn't initially think I was going to take this team, but the more I think about it and the more I look at their draft, I'm actually looking at the Jets right now. So
really?
Yeah. Zach Wilson being paranoid has me a little worried about the quarterback situation there, but you look at Sauce Gardner, he should be probably one of the top two corners. I would think he may even be ahead of Stingley. And then Garrett Wilson, it'd be tough to pass on a Buckeye, especially when he's going to probably be a decent dev and have nice speed. And then they got that running back. So I'm leaning towards the Jets.
They also grabbed, that was the edge rusher Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson, yeah.
He's a good athlete. And then Gardner, I could see, 93 speed, 80 zone. Wilson, what's he, 94, 95 speed. And
yeah, probably.
He should be the highest overall receiver based on how Madden calculates overall.
Yeah, so right now I think I'm leaning Jets. I took the Browns this cycle, I guess. And I don't know. It's not as much fun not building the team. And I think the Jets would be a fun one to kind of start with those rookies and see how good you can get that team. So I'm leaning towards the Jets right now.
Do they still have any Seattle picks, or are those?
No, that's the only thing. The picks are gone, so you are stuck with what the Jets have. But I think it would be fun to build that team, and then they've definitely got some rookies that interest me a lot. And that Zach Wilson is really the wild card there. But if he keeps his star dev and maybe paranoid isn't that big of a deal, I think Jets are probably going to be my pick.
I mean, yeah, Wilson has all the, if you're creating a quarterback, he's, 94 throw power, mid 80 speed.
Yeah, like 83 speed.
Yeah, that's all you really need. And it's, the paranoid's a whole question. We can get into the, shadow Madden, how this works, how that works. But yeah, he's young enough. He'll only be 23 come next cycle. Yeah, I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, so that's going to be my pick. So that puts NYT on the clock. What are we thinking for NYT?
NYT on the clock with the Cardinals left again? No.
So you think the Cardinals?
I don't think he can go Cardinals, especially, most recent TA episode kind of was going after him a little bit for not winning anything with the Cardinals, while even Dump won. Dump made a Super Bowl with the Cardinals. But I think we look and we wait, we see what Malik Willis looks like, and then I think he goes to his Titans. Malik Willis is, what's he going to be, 91 speed?
Probably.
90 plus throw power.
I feel like he's like a Kellen Mond, Tyler Huntley. I think that's going to be right around where he is, maybe a little faster and maybe a little more arm power.
It's like a Fields with lower accuracy type deal, which is accuracy is devable as much as the first season's a struggle. Like, he's going to have the right stats.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll be good enough to dev. If he starts normal, that could be an issue. And then obviously the traits, maybe he gets paranoid or something. But I tend to agree that NYT is probably going to go Titans. Now, since I've been in the SML, I have not seen him have a strong division. But I think the Titans, you got the rookie Treylon Burks. I think that's going to be fun to play with, even though it's going to cost him as far as AJ Brown. But I think that's where he's going to go. I think it's Malik Willis is just going to be too much to pass up.
That's just it.
And they had a good draft. You got McCreary, the corner, Malik Willis, and then don't forget NYT is a Michigan fan, and they picked up Hassan Haskins, a Michigan running back. So, if there was even just a little bit more to kind of to push him that way, I think that would be it. And he's had a lot of success, as far as I know, in Primer with the Titans. So maybe he's not afraid of Prime this year, and he takes the Titans.
Yeah, he made multiple Super Bowls in Primer with the Titans, and that was pre having a 90 speed, 90 plus throw power quarterback. So,
yep,
absolutely. Hopefully they fix QB breakouts, right?
Supposedly, and that was added back this year, so I'm sure it'll be removed next year, and then only to be added back, towards the end of the year. So that's going to bring us to Fins at pick 5. I think for me this is an easy pick, but I'll let you go first.
If you think it's an easy pick, by all means go ahead, because I'm looking at a couple teams. I want to see where you go.
Okay, I'm going to put him down as the Dolphins.
It's his team.
It's his team. They added Tyreek Hill. So for me, this was a no-brainer. He's gonna take his Dolphins, get a really fast offense, and he talked about hoping he could get them last time. They didn't really add anything in the draft, but adding Tyreek Hill is more than enough, I think, to get him to take his favorite team.
And they also have their own first-round pick, which is big, and they have the Niners first-round pick, so you get the 2 firsts as well.
Do they have their first-round pick still? I thought that went in the Hill draft. In the Hill
deal.
Maybe not.
Pick was first-rounder this year.
Okay, then that's even more reason.
We double-check that though, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'll talk. Well, yep. 2022 first-rounder, number 29. 2022 second, 2022 fourth, 2023 fourth and 6th.
Yeah, so if they're walking in with 2 first-round picks and Tyreek Hill, there's no way he passes on him in my mind.
I'm going to go elsewhere, actually.
Okay.
I think he's going to take this. I think he's going to go Carolina.
Okay.
I think we've seen Woods built them up pre-blip. We've seen what Faz has done with this team. The amount of young talent they have is unbelievable. Like, ton of young talent. They drafted at quarterback. They drafted Matt Corral, who should have 80 speed, decent throw power for a rookie. Obviously, hell of a lot better than Darnold. They still have McCaffrey. They have some of that speed at receiver with centered around DJ Moore. Is crazy young, crazy fast. All these pieces. Oh, and they drafted an outside linebacker in the 6th round who ran a 4.3, like a 4.35. So
they also added a quarterback too. So if you're not sold on Darnold,
exactly, Matt Corral will do it. They also have their picks, I believe, and I just think that's the best young team, and I think Fins is going to look to build a team that can get built up throughout this cycle.
All right.
Then
for the sake of the mock draft and trying to keep track of this, I'll go with your pick here for the graphic on the front. And we'll just alternate as far as who gets their pick right. I guess as long as one is not taken.
Very well be right with Fins. It's right in his name.
Yeah, I think it'll be the Dolphins, but for the mock, I'll concede to the Panthers for you. So Matt picks. Oh, go ahead.
Or else I'm just gonna keep mocking the Panthers to the next person in line.
That's true. You know what? I'll just keep this graphic with my picks, and
yeah, that's fine.
The people at home can chart your picks. All right, so that brings us to Matt next. Matt's kind of an interesting one because he talks about Freight Train's overpowered and everything, but he's passed on Freight Train both drafts. He's also talked about wanting to go NFC, and if I remember, he posted a list of what his teams were, and it was like the Jets, I want to say the Lions and the Eagles, maybe.
Basically, the young teams with capital and space.
Yeah, and I think that's what he likes to do is play with the younger players, and he likes to kind of build his team. Um, Neither the Lions or the Eagles do I see as a team. I don't know. No quarterback there. You're looking at Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts. I don't know if those are the guys he wants after using Trevor Lawrence and having a superstar X Factor quarterback. But I'm not going to go against what the guy says he's going to do for himself. I'm going to give him the Eagles.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. I'll go kind of. This is definitely a reach here, but I could see him falling in love with Cincinnati if Burrow gets a nice bump coming off, a Super Bowl appearance, gets a little throw power bump, maybe even gets X Factor. Lock him in for Burrow Chase. He wants to be a passing team. He wants to be a passing offense now. His team has, one of the best young quarterback receiver combos and plenty of cap space to build out the rest of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that being a pick. And we saw Mixon get Freight Train, so it's possible he could still get Freight Train without picking a Freight Train running back. But
yeah, definitely.
I could see that. The only thing they don't have is picks, and I think he may enjoy having the extra picks and some space to build. So next up is going to be Mike. Now, Mike, I can't remember the other team he said he was thinking about, but one of them was the Browns. Because he picks right in front of DW. And obviously boy. DW would like the Browns. But I've actually got Mike. I think Mike goes to Washington.
This is about as far as I think Washington can fall with, especially if Chase Young keeps his dev. He's superstar, I believe, currently.
Yep, superstar.
Yeah, currently that team just has the right young pieces, the right places, and we'll see what they end up doing quarterback wise, or if you end up rolling with the rook. But I think there's definitely enough young talent there to walk right into a team that you can do some stuff with.
Yep, feel like the defense is set. The offense, you're going to have McLaurin, you're going to have Curtis Samuel, Diami Brown, and now Dotson from Penn State.
He'll be quick.
Yeah, and then you still have you got Wentz there if you want him, but you've also got the rookie Sam Howell. Don't know how great he's going to be being like a 5th round pick or 6th round pick, but it might be worth looking at. He's only 21 years old, so plenty of time to develop him. But Mike was talking about taking Washington pre-blip anyway, and then Prime went Kansas City, and that threw his plans completely out the window, and he took the Colts. And so I think this might be his time to take Washington basically in the same situation they were in last year.
Yeah, that's spot on. And they also have Antonio Gibson, who's a great athlete in his own right, who you can do a lot of stuff with, both rushing and passing game.
Yeah, and now this year they're also far better off regardless of which quarterback you decide to go with. Howell or Wentz, they're both going to be better than Taylor Heineke or Fitzpatrick. So
anyone's better than Fitzpatrick with a hip subluxation.
So if Mike goes to Washington, I don't think it's even a question where DW goes with the Browns sitting on the board.
Nope.
He's told me as much. Basically, if the Browns don't fall and I take the Jets, he has no idea where he's going to go. So in this scenario with the Browns falling, can't get it up there fast enough. DW goes to the Browns, and that's our first 8 picks. And
so yeah, I think if you don't take the Browns, keep your eye out for DW to try to trade up in the draft if that will be allowed.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
I don't either, but
that would make
send all his first rounders.
That would make something interesting for the team draft if you could have a guy just trade back or obviously the opposite, somebody trade up. And,
yeah,
I don't know how you would work that, but that would be interesting to see. If guys move to follow someone else or something.
It'd be an administrative headache, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 9, after DW takes the Browns, would be Dan at 9. Now Dan, I think, is a tricky one. He's already made it pretty clear he wants either the Steelers or the Falcons again. Um, and I don't know where I would put him because the one thing I've noticed with Dan, the last, I guess, 2 team drafts that he's been in, he always likes to follow somebody that's going to be a challenge. He followed, uh, what do you follow? Prime? I think it was just Prime at the time to the AFC West, and then RD jumped in there, and then poor Finns got stuck with the Broncos. Um, and then after the blip, he chases Faz to the NFC South. So but the way it's shaping up right now, I'm not sure where he goes. Um, he could take the Steelers and follow DW to the AFC North. Not really a guy that Dan would follow, you would think. He could go to the AFC South with the Jaguars or the Texans. He hinted at possibly taking the Texans last cycle and following Prime. But outside of that, I mean, you got Matt and Mike in the NFC East, and then he'd have to take the Patriots to fill up the AFC East with me, Finns, and Woods. I think he goes back to Atlanta. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think Atlanta has some of those pieces that you can't find anywhere else. Kyle Pitts, even Deion Jones to an extent. Kyle Pitts is obviously the key marquee guy. Drake London, their new rookie, is just an absolute freak of an athlete. He's massive. He's basically Kyle Pitts, just out wide, or more out wide, I should say. And yeah, and I think Dan recognizes in this game that there are certain guys you can't get anywhere else that just gives you a leg up. It's kind of like in fantasy football where you get one of those elite tight ends, you get a Travis Kelce or whatever, and there's just nothing that can compare to it. No one else can get anything like that sort of production from that spot, and it adds an element to your team.
Yeah, I feel like there's guys like that, like Lamar Jackson, another guy that you'll never get anybody in the draft that replaces him, whether it be because you can't get the X factor or you can't get the 96 speed at quarterback. Um, I don't even think we've seen escape artist on a rookie, even if they come in superstar or anything. Not that we've had very many this year anyway, but um, I feel like those are just some abilities that you just don't get. And so if you can draft a guy like that in the team draft, I think that'll be it. And Dan likes to develop his quarterbacks. I don't think he, as much success as he's had with Russell Wilson, I don't think he enjoys picking up a ready-made quarterback and just jumping in with him. I think he would enjoy taking a Desmond Ridder and maybe turning him into something a lot better.
Yeah, and Ritter's, I mean, we keep harping on all these rookie quarterbacks. We have no idea what their stats are going to look like. If Ritter comes in with 93 throw power, decent speed, and he's, usable in the accuracies, you can survive for a year, kind of like Faz did with Jordan Love this past season or past cycle, and make do. Other team just to mention for Dan as a possible option is maybe he is fallen in love with Russell Wilson, and that Broncos team is. And I know he's had success with the Broncos
Yeah.
in the past. Heads back to his if you won a championship with the Broncos, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And this team has the young talent, has some decent pieces on defense. Signed Randy Gregory to pair with Bradley Chubb, and now they have Russ and some nice young options. Patrick Surtain being one of those kind of unicorns, so to speak, at cornerback that just you can't really find anywhere else.
Yeah, and he's made comments about not really, he doesn't like taking like a team that's already kind of out of the box, ready to go. Where he hits Faz for taking the Bills and the Panthers, and Dan says he would prefer, the lesser teams. Of course, he did take the Chargers, which I think were a pretty solid team. But this team I think would be fun. You've got Drake London in Atlanta, rookie wide receiver. You've got a rookie defensive end from Penn State. That was a second-round pick, and a linebacker that was a second-round pick as well. So they should be at least high enough to be usable and develop into something good. And I think he recognizes Pitts is a one of a kind tight end, and if Madden 23 is anything like 22, where tight ends can kind of make or break you, I think he sticks with Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's your most likely scenario. Just going back to the Broncos for 1 second, with what you had said about Dan always chasing a division, chasing, kind of a challenge, which then I always get stuck with in my division. But that would be the Broncos are taking one of those AFC West teams, especially if, the Chargers make it to Q. You have the Chiefs with Mahomes are going to be competitive, and the Raiders have added Devontae Adams. So
That is true, and if he takes the Broncos, that could scare out everybody else for Q to take the Chargers, and maybe he kind of plays that 4D chess where he's thinking ahead and sees that. Of course, now he's just copying what we've said, but
Exactly.
But so that leaves Coop up next at 10. Coop took the Chiefs, and I think he is absolutely hated having the team. Even though it's his favorite team, there's nothing to do. You just play with the Chiefs, and I think he doesn't like that. He's said as much. I think he said something about was it the Lions or somebody else that might get too good to get crossed off his list. Um, so I think he wants the team build. Where do you see Coop going?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I mean, we saw him with the Chiefs basically be the literal human equivalent of the Elmo hands up, fire burning gif, like just letting Tyreek hit free agency for maximum chaos. Yeah, I think you mentioned Lions, Eagles if they make it. Just any of those young teams with picks, I think would be a good spot for him.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I didn't even let you make your pick.
Yeah, I don't have a clear one that jumps out necessarily. I think a team like maybe the Giants, just with those two young pieces they drafted in Neal and Thibodeau, plus you still have Saquon, that's something to do. But you move on from Daniel Jones, and there's some stuff to build around. But I'm certainly not sold on that as my selection here.
Yeah, I think Coop is maybe the toughest one to pick here. I do think he's going to go with somebody he can build around. Um, Giants, I kind of like that pick more so because he would be in a division with Matt and Mike, and
Oh yeah, good call there. I
so
like Lions sounds.
yeah, he would like to play with those two. I'm sure. Um, Lions, it's a wild card because there's nobody in the NFC North yet, so you don't know who you're going to get. But they do have two picks in the following draft. They have Aiden Hutchinson. They got Jameson Williams. I mean, definitely a good core to build around. Um, but the sneaky pick for me, I could see him going to the Seahawks. It's same reason they have multiple picks. But if Dan takes the Broncos, I think they're out, and I think he goes Lions. But you know
Yeah,
what
that's
though?
a
I actually like your Giants pick. Let's go with the
okay.
Giants.
All right.
I
So
think
then, yeah, Seahawks. I'm not so sure he would go with DK after having Tyreek and not really connecting with him, just because DK is basically just a 6'5" Tyreek.
yeah, I think maybe the Giants are the better pick. I think in this scenario, seeing who's going to be in his division, I could see that. What do you think? And one team that I think he'll avoid, but it would be plenty to build with the Texans. I just don't think he wants to be in Prime's division 2 out of 3 cycles. Um,
It's Prime's division. B, it's a double freight train division if these stick with
yeah,
JT and Henry, and then whatever the Jags we've seen ETN develop into spin cycle. That sounds just like an absolute nightmare. And you know what it's like. I guess you don't have to face double freight trains. You have one of the freight trains, but
yeah,
I
I have one.
imagine the rest of your division's pretty frustrated getting that 4 times a year.
Oh, absolutely. And then if you don't get the freight train, you get an escape artist, Lamar Jackson, in there. So really, outside of the Steelers, everybody's a nightmare to play.
Yep, we're finally into the part where people are really targeting divisions and whatnot, and I guess I'll say my piece now. Where I don't think I think the whole SML as a whole, a lot of the people overvalue divisions. The people fleeing from taking the Bucks or the Titans because they're afraid of Prime or Dan and Faz this season, and then taking just teams that aren't nearly as good or don't have even great pieces that they would like because they're afraid of playing so and so 2 times a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't understand it. Um,
Yep.
the Ravens fell to QP at like 20 something in the redraft. Um, and there's no reason they should have fell that far. Lamar Jackson is going to even out any disparity in users anyway. So to pass on them and then take a team like the Saints or the Bears or something like that, just that's crazy to me.
It's
take
insane.
take the good team. Even if you take 2 losses a year, that puts you at 15-2. It's not that bad.
Most people are competing for wild card spots anyway. Unless I totally understand going to you look at the way the AFC East filled up real quick this past draft. I totally understand that when it's a division that pretty much anyone could win.
Yeah, I can understand run into a division you think you can win, especially if you're going to close it out, and you
Right.
think you can win it. then maybe that's a good one. Get you in the playoffs every year. But I don't understand running away from one team, um, despite having, you know, exponentially better talent on that team, than what you're going to end up taking. I think it just the Buccaneers for example. I mean, I know Dan and Faz were already there in the NFC South, but there's no way you let that Bucs team go. You could lose both games to them every year. That's still only 4 losses, and you have a far better team than the majority of everyone else. And you're going to have a third place schedule every year.
Or fourth place schedule.
Yeah, or fourth place. So you're gonna have the easier schedule almost every season, and a good team to go with it. So, I see both sides to it, but I just don't understand running from somebody and letting these really good teams fall. So speaking of that, we've got Double Rice No Bean up at 11. QP sitting there at 12, probably shaking right now because the Chargers are there. What do you think Double Rice No Bean does as probably the person that knows him the best?
I don't think Rice has the heart to snipe Q's Chargers from him. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't. I don't think he could do that to him, as much as that would be what every person in the league would be rooting
Yeah.
for, just for maximum comedic value.
Do you think he goes with the Patriots? I mean, that's his favorite team.
Those are his guys.
But
He
they're
did.
they're clearly, judging by what's left on the board, they're not the best team, nor do they even have any pieces that really anybody would want. Um, Everybody seems to trade Mac Jones, and that's their like cornerstone quarterback. What do you think he
Yeah,
does
Matt.
here?
I don't think he has any clue where he's going yet, but I could see him. He's gonna fall in love with some random person, whether it's a Trey Lance or whoever, and snag some team. But we're not gonna know for a little bit here. I'm put him. Patriots is entirely possible. They already traded his favorite corner, J.C. Jackson, who he got his Patriots after Sherm left, but J.C. Jackson was gone. Then
He
he
just
saw fake
can't
shit
get him.
about J.C. Jackson.
Yep.
He just can't get him. And you know what team J.C. Jackson's on now?
The Chargers.
The Chargers.
Yep. Which makes this pick really interesting.
It really does. I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, let's put him on the Pats. I think any of those Cali teams. I think Chargers or Niners are possibilities. I know he's fond of that Niners roster and some what they have, especially if they hold on to Debo or if they ship Debo off for a first rounder or something. I think those are Chargers and Niners are two teams he could absolutely do some stuff with, but I do think he really does just want his Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him down as the Patriots. They did have a decent draft as far as like rookies that are going to be usable. They added that the fastest receiver in the draft, and then I guess their running back as well has quite a bit of speed that they picked up. I think it's the Pierre Strong maybe.
Yep. And they drafted a fourth round lineman in the first round, so that always goes well.
Yeah, I mean who doesn't want that? And so I think they're going to be a team that's probably high on his list, despite no J.C. Jackson, no real exciting players.
No, it's honestly a horrible, horrible like long term future elite assets team, but it's a team that has a bunch of like 80-ish overall guys, and it's you can be competitive with them.
Yeah,
I think,
and it's
even
it's
though
his
they don't.
team, and that can definitely
That's the big.
sway somebody. I think for me, the kind of two things to watch. Number one, I think just haven't watched him be the Titans, and it seemed to bother him when people would say, "Oh, you only have, you're winning because you have Freight Train, you were a 5-win team, whatever." So I don't think he goes to a team um, like the Broncos with an escape artist guy, or the Cardinals with that great team and escape artist. I think he avoids any of those big abilities, and then the Patriots obviously don't have any abilities, so that works out perfect for him. But the sneaky team that I could see would be the Bengals. I think depending on what they do with Joe Burrow, I assume he's going to get his superstar, maybe even X Factor back. Even a slight boost in throw power makes him one of the better quarterbacks, and I think that could be a sneaky team for him. Would be the Bengals, but I kind of agree with you. I think he's going to go with the Patriots.
Yeah, and honestly, Chase could use, but Burrow and Chase both might be X factors this upcoming Madden. Like
That's true too. We don't really know
that's
what EA is
that's
going to
going
do.
to be I
Neither do
think the
they.
Bengals are going to be the team that just throws a wrench in the draft. Someone's going to reach on them for those two guys and Mixon as well. But
Yeah, and this goes for the Rams as well. But both teams coming off a Super Bowl appearance, you got to figure they're going to get some pretty decent bumps to guys that were on the roster and maybe weren't as great, highly rated before, but they're going to get that kind of Super Bowl bump that we see sometimes.
absolutely.
All right, so pick number 12, and it works out about as good as could be expected for QP. To me, no question. Again, he's going to take the Chargers if they're there, and in this mock draft, they are there. So, yeah, any issues with QP taking the Chargers here?
None at all. I think I'm pretty surprised that we made it this far without anyone taking one of those AFC West teams, all four of which I think could easily go top 10, like just in broad, generalizations, because they've all made moves this season. It's like an arms race out there. Besides, I guess
Yeah,
the Chiefs traded Tyreek, but they still have Mahomes.
and picks.
Yeah, I if the Chargers are there, Q takes them. Who do you think is the most likely team ahead of him to take them? I guess that's probably the more pressing question.
The most likely team ahead of him to take the Chargers, I I don't know. I think Matt passes on him just based on kind of like what you said with Bean, where he might not have the heart to take him from him. Um, I don't think Dan takes the Chargers. Coop, being a Chiefs fan and talking about he wants a bad team, I don't see any way he takes the Chargers.
Nope.
I always thought Mike was a dark horse to take the Chargers last cycle before the blip.
Mm-hmm.
I know, and then he said he had no interest in them, but I mean that's a team I thought was perfect for Mike. It's already built for the most part. It's good, and then they'll have Herbert, who now is going to be a superstar. Um, Outside of that, maybe Woods, but I don't see Woods doing it either. But having the superstar quarterback would be a kind of a draw for him. I could see the defense is absolutely insane.
Yeah, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson being added to that team that already has Bosa, Derwin, Kenneth Murray, and Madden's fast.
And
Like,
Asante Samuel.
yep.
And then even in the draft, I mean, they took a guard at their first pick, so that's kind of taken care of. They got another running back, and then they got J.T. Woods from Baylor as a safety. I mean, and these are guys that aren't bad, so they're going to be nice little, mid to low 70s guys that are going to fill in that team and with youth too. So maybe
Yeah,
Woods.
I
MYT is
think
always a wild card because I think
that's
sometimes
my
he'll
pick.
just take the team
That's my
that's the
pick.
best
Yep.
and hope he can do something with
NYT
them.
would be my most likely pick, and he won't have any, moral quandaries about taking him.
No. If there's anybody that doesn't give a shit that he's taking the team from someone, it would be him. Clink is another guy, but Clink, as of right now, picks behind him. And I don't know if that's kind of Clink's team, although with the defense being already built, that would be a great fit for him. But yeah, I just looking at it, I don't see any way that they don't fall to him. Maybe DW, but he was the Chargers last cycle, so I don't know if he wants to double up on that. And then the whole Thanos club, whatever. I don't think he would take him from him if there's any other option there. All right.
Let's
So
moving through the Thanos Club.
yeah. So speaking of the Thanos club, next up is Faz at 13, and I think to me this is another obvious pick. I think Faz takes the Jaguars.
Yeah, they've spent a ton of money this offseason. They've addressed some pieces. As long as Trevor Lawrence doesn't get nuked, Faz taking the Jaguars would make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I feel like they got a lot better. They added, a number one overall player on defense now, which I think helps. They did lose Miles Jack, but then they pick up Devin Lloyd in the draft anyway, who's basically a younger Miles Jack. So
Evan
I think
Ingram, tight end wise for Madden.
Add Evan Ingram. You lose DJ Chark, but you pick up Christian Kirk. To me, that's basically a wash.
Yeah.
And the only thing that concerns me is he passed on him once already. And that's with Trevor Lawrence, X Factor, rookie year. I mean, all the excitement that went along with that. And and that wasn't enough to get him to take him. Um, so
The only other option I could see is it possible he chases an escape artist? Maybe even follows Q to the AFC West and goes Denver. Takes Russell Wilson after being tortured by him
I
for
honestly think if he goes AFC West, he takes the Chiefs. I
yeah,
think
that too.
I think you get Mahomes. He's also got escape artist. He's been the Chiefs before. I don't think missing out on Tyreek Hill is going to hurt him too bad since you still have Hardman there, and they picked up a rookie as well. I just don't see him passing on the Jags this time. Last time he also said that he was in Dan's league, that Samara, and he got the Jags, and that's why he didn't take him. He didn't want him in 2 leagues. This time, I think he takes him. Gets to play prime twice a year. But I think this time maybe he goes ahead and picks him. Trevor Lawrence losing X Factor or superstar though could definitely swing that.
Absolutely.
All right, so that drops us down to our third straight Thanos Club member.
Who isn't in Thanos Club?
Well, Clink is, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
So
everyone's in it at this point.
Yeah, it feels that way. So Clink picking 14. Where do you think he goes? I feel like he's going to go to a team that needs picks or that has picks.
He's not a big fan of taking those empty teams. Lions are still on the board again, even though that's who he is this year. That's kind of unfortunate for him if he doesn't want to repeat.
Yeah, I don't know if he would repeat.
I don't think so.
Again, you have the Seahawks there. I don't know if he would take that team. I don't know.
Is this a possible Texans pick? That roster is so barren that I don't know if you can justify it. However, they're going to have a boatload of picks, depending on who does take the Browns.
Yeah.
Those picks could increase in value, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, Mike mentioned maybe taking them ahead of DW just because of that reason. And if Mike takes the Browns, I think the Texans are gone before we get to Clink's pick anyway, because now you're talking about you've got top 5 picks for the next 2 years.
Exactly.
Hell, I think the AFC North could fill up pretty quick if that were the case.
That too.
But for Clink, I don't know. I've watched him this season with the Lions. He had a lot of picks and a lot of money, and he spent it all on offense. And he's complained about his defensive line and how he doesn't really have anything there. I'm not sure where I would see him going here, because I think he would want a team that's probably already got an established defense.
Could the Niners be an option here? They don't have their first round pick. However, you got Armstead and Bosa on the D-line.
Yeah, I actually that's the team I was just looking at and thinking I like that team for him. If he did, you look what he did with the Lions. What did he do with his first pick? He took a quarterback anyway. So you're getting Trey Lance. It's essentially there's your pick. You got Trey Lance out of it. But you're going to have probably Deebo Samuel unless he goes somewhere.
Or then you have a first.
Yeah, or you get your picks back. So and that would be, he took Daniel Guerrero with his second first-round pick. So you've already got your quarterback and your receiver. You got George Kittle there. He got rid of Hawkinson, so maybe tight end isn't a huge deal for him, but you've got one. And then the defense is basically already set. So I like that pick for Clink. Let's throw him on the 49ers.
All right. You got the meats.
All right. So meats. I don't know what to think about this one. What are you leaning towards?
Ravens are still on the board. Is that
Ravens on the board? That's an interesting one. That's his favorite team.
That's his team, and he's a big Maryland guy.
He has not had success moving away from escape artist.
Oop.
And this would put him an escape artist. DW having the Browns. So depending on how you feel about DW as a player, I think he feels like that's a winnable matchup.
Absolutely. It's not quite, Mad Bomber TV having the Browns.
Yeah, I think he feels like even with DW having the Browns, which are going to be an insane team, at least until the cap catches up with them. But I think Meats would immediately be the favorite, just about regardless of who takes any of the other teams, just because Lamar Jackson is going to make you better than pretty much everybody else, depending obviously what they do with Burrow. But the Steelers offensively are going to be in trouble. So I could see him going there. I could see him going back to the Cardinals. Um, but
Yeah,
I definitely I think
Cardinals
he
should
goes
not.
back to an escape artist quarterback. I don't.
That's a pretty sound prediction. There's no reason the Cardinals should still be on the board here, in all honesty. But I think they're so sweaty that it might scare people off from taking them in a way.
Yeah, and I know he's talked about, oh, I don't like to take the same team more than once or whatever, and he's had both the Cardinals and the Ravens. Um, but if he's gonna take an escape artist quarterback, he's left with Mahomes or Russell Wilson, both in QP's division,
Yeah,
and he had a division of him, Dump, and Tiny, and or RD. Tiny was in that division too, but Tiny was and also ran. Um, so I don't know if he wants to go into a division where he's got to play somebody like that twice a year. And I think he's going to go back to the Ravens. He can sell it as it's his favorite team, and nobody will really, he'll still get some shit about being an escape artist. But at the end of the day, it is his favorite team. Losing Hollywood Brown, not a huge deal with Devernay and Bateman there, and then Kyle Hamilton being added at safety. They added Marcus Williams in free agency. You got David Ajabo. They had a really good draft and offseason, and I think that combined with escape artist, I think he goes to the Ravens.
yeah, that team's absolutely loaded, and Meats basically needs to decide if he wants to listen to all the folding chair narratives or all the you only chase escape artist narratives. Gonna just pick one and go with it, and he'll still get both no matter what. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think at this point he's realized that those narratives are coming regardless. So
Yeah,
might as well pick a team you can either win with or are going to enjoy playing with. And I
be your
think the
favorite team.
Ravens kind of fit that
Yep.
bill on both accounts. So Meats to the Ravens, and now a true wild card because I have no idea what he's thinking. 99% of the time, KJ picking 16. I have no idea. I think KJ, even with Grams picking 22, so 6 more picks, I think KJ won't take the Cowboys just because he's too
No,
nice.
out of respect. Yep.
Um, he's been the Steelers. I think he looks at the divisions, and I think to me, he's going to see the NFC North with no one in it. I don't know if KJ
Yeah.
ever thinks that he's going to win a division, but when you have um, an empty division there, Faz, Prime, Dan, QP, they've already picked. They're not in that division. I think a good fit for KJ and where I could see him going is the Packers. I know they don't have Devontae Adams, but they picked up that Christian Watson. He's gonna
He
be
is.
he's gonna be a Madden receiver. They've added 2 defensive pieces in the first round, and he's gonna have an extra pick for the. No, he already used the pick, but so you won't have Devontae Adams, but I think KJ especially getting Aaron Rodgers. He's really struggled to find a quarterback since he's been in the league, and I think that'll be a good one. Talent wise, far above those other 2 or 3 teams. So I think the Packers are where he's going to go.
Yeah, I don't have a great read on KJ. I think it's a bit of a dart throw. You could pretty much pick any of those NFC North teams. I could see it happening. Could even see him going to NFC East. That still have one spot left, I believe.
Yep, the Cowboys are still there.
Oh, so that's the Cowboys. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I like the NFC North pick. I think Packers could happen. I mean, I is it possible the Bears roster's terrible, but
Yeah, Bears
he
roster's
takes that.
terrible. No extra picks, so you're stuck with what they got.
Oh yeah, they don't have the picks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, yeah. Let's put him in for Packers.
Yeah,
I think
so I
that's
like him as the
reasonable.
Packers, and that's gonna put us at the halfway point, and you're the next pick at 17. So I don't even know why I would make an assessment here. What do you think you're doing?
What am I doing? The Mutt Bucks are still on the board, right? No,
Yes, they are.
they are still on the board. That's entirely possible. It's hard to pass up, a Cardinals Ravens type if you want to go that route. I would mock myself too, and I think it'd be hard for me to pass up the Vikings if they're there. Just that's it's obviously I'm a Pats fan, but Vikings are definitely my second team. Have family ties there and whatnot, and I've never had a running back who can turn. I've had Leonard Fournette, like he's great in a straight line, but you getting to use Dalvin a little bit recently, and he's amazing. And never mind Jefferson on out wide with he gets some of those Brady hot routes out wide, and we can work with those. So I think that's where I'd lean. I surely would not rule out a return to Tampa, or depending on what falls through the cracks. But
Yeah, I don't know. I've got you going to Minnesota just because of the you know, you like Minnesota, so with them being on the board but man, that Cardinals team sitting there, it
I know
would
that
be
team is
really tough to pass up.
yeah.
But I think I see you going with the Vikings. Um, favorite team: Jefferson, Cook. Uh, Solid draft, at least for the secondary. They got Scene and Booth, so that gives you a little bit more to work with in that secondary, which was kind of what
Much
I never
needed.
liked about them. So yeah, I like the Vikings there. I think that's a good one. Next up is going to be D-Muse, and this one, he's another guy jumping up and down right now. And
Yeah, his Saints are there. His Saints are there. It's if they weren't there, I mean, I guess it's a division team. The Bucks would be a great fit for him. The way he's done what he's done with Mac, what he could then do with Brady, that defense, that team. I think he's ready to win now, but yeah, he's taking his hometown Saints if they're there.
yeah, he's definitely made it known that he wants the Saints. And every time they add somebody, like they just added Tyrann Mathieu today, and he's takes a little hit inside because he knows it's that much closer to not getting them. But the way this works out, he's got the Saints at 18. Next up is going to be Field. What do you think Field does? He's kind of been all over the place.
Fields has been absolutely slinging the ball this year. If you've seen what he's done with his rookie QB this year, what he did with Brady, I think both him and Fig in this next pick are on the Cardinals. Or if they fall this far, I think one of these two is absolutely taking the cards and just chucking the ball.
Yeah, so that was uh that was something that Field has said on more than one occasion is he really wants a running quarterback. When he got his guy Choice this year, he said, "Oh, I finally got a mobile quarterback." Looking at the teams left, there is nobody more mobile than Kyler Murray, and that team is set, ready to go. Like you said, he's been slinging it. The only guy in the division right now is Clink. Um, I think he does that exactly and takes the Cardinals, and they're off the board. Um, and it's one pick before Fig, who I think was the next person that would have taken the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
So speaking of Fig, where do you think he goes now that the Cardinals are off the board and we have
I
Boone going
think
to the Patriots?
Big is out of options now that the Cardinals are off the board. The Pats are off the board. I think he is doing what I'm doing right now and scrolling through the list of teams, and he's gonna see, oh, Seahawks. They have DK Metcalf. He can run. Seahawks, lock it in.
You think Seahawks?
Yep, I think basically just for DK exclusively, and Noah Fant, he could do some stuff with. Plus, they drafted a running back in the draft who looks Walker out of Mich State should be a nice little asset there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with them too. I think the other option, and I don't know how this team is still here, but the Chiefs.
Yep.
Fig doesn't care if you're good. If you got speed, that's good enough. And Mecole Hardman is still one of the fastest guys in the game. He would have Mahomes with escape artist, but let's be real, Fig is going to change his quarterback like 37 times in the first season. Um, Seahawks have an extra picks that he can trade away for more speed. Um, I think that's where he's going to go. I think he's going to go to the Seahawks. Not only that, but he doesn't have to play QP. If he goes to the AFC West, he's got QP as the Chargers. So enjoy getting beat 100-0 twice in a row. I think he goes. I think he goes to the NFC West. Fig is also a guy that's he tends to think he's got a chance all the time. I remember Faz would get upset because Fig would say he thinks he can beat him. But with Clink and Field there, Clink's been playing really well, so maybe he doesn't have a chance. But I think he's got enough of a chance that he'll believe it. And I think the Seahawks are the pick for Fig. All right, that brings us to pick 21, and we've got Paulie here. Who do you think, or where do you think he's going to go?
At this point in the draft, I imagine it's going to be more of a strategic pick. I could see Paulie kind of looking at divisions and trying to pick a spot where he could do some stuff.
Yeah.
Looking at what's left, I mean, I guess kind of going against what I just said, though, the best teams left are those AFC West teams,
Yeah.
right? I could absolutely see him going there. A team like a Denver would make sense. Or if you go AFC North, you have someone like the Steelers who has an established defense. I don't have a great read on this one with what's off the board already. So let's hear what you got to say first.
Okay, so I'm looking at two teams. I don't know, maybe a third team. I think the AFC West is out. I think with QP being there, AFC West is out. Texans are out. Obviously the roster, and then Prime and Faz there. You don't want any of that. Lions and Bears, I don't see him. I don't see them being a team he would take. NFC South, Dan's there. He's not going there. So that leaves me with either the Bengals, the Steelers, the Cowboys, or the Rams as possibilities. And I think it comes down to he's going to look at the divisions. He's going to see which one he thinks he can kind of run through and have his way with. And I think that's going to be the NFC East. And I think this is going to break Graham's heart. But I think Paulie takes the Cowboys, the pick right before him.
Yeah, I think that could entirely happen. I think Rams were a decent shout too with the way that division's shaped up in this mock. That's absolutely a winnable one. That team has some of that elite talent in Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. Stafford's perfectly serviceable, and they have some receiver weapons that he could absolutely work with.
Yeah, I think the difference for me is going to be the Cowboys are going to come in with either superstar or X Factor Dak Prescott. They're going to have possibly freight train Ezekiel Elliott, depending on what they do with him. EA tends to kind of give the Cowboys the benefit of the doubt, and so we could see Zeke with freight train again. And then Micah Parsons is going to come in, superstar or X Factor. Trevon Diggs is going to come in. He had acrobat and pick artist to end the season. So I think he could go Cowboys here, and then even losing Amari Cooper, they still have some decent receivers. So I think he takes the Cowboys, knowing he's only got Matt, Coop, and Mike, and he thinks that's an extremely winnable division.
Yep, that's fair, and we know the Madden ratings people love the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to count out the factor that just knowing he could take the Cowboys before Grams, it seems like a Paulie move. So
yep,
I'm gonna give him the Cowboys.
And then he'll say he didn't know that Grams picked right after him.
That's right. He was just trying to spin. So next up is Grams. And with the Cowboys off the board, where do you think he goes from this point?
I think Grams' team list is one team long.
Yeah.
His draft board is one team. And this is where you got to pivot. And I think at this point, I think he'll just take a team he can do some stuff with. It really depends where he's at. He's been a little checked out this past season, been busy with work and life stuff, vacation, whatever he's been doing. But once he gets back into it, I think we're at the point in the draft where the options have started to dwindle a little bit. There's still some very good teams out here though. Like some of those AFC West teams. I think Grams avoids this AFC West. I mean, he's had the Chiefs in primer before. He's liked them a bit, but I don't think that's where we go.
Yeah, without Tyreek Hill, I don't think he's going there.
That's your game buster right there. I could see Rams, or I could see him just kind of go to that NFC North, which currently just has me and KJ, which I don't think is too intimidating.
I could see that. And that's the thing. So with Grams, a lot of these guys, you can kind of base it off where they picked before, what the divisions look like when they went there. And Grams is different because he's always picked at the top. He's always taken the Cowboys regardless. So he hasn't really ever picked his division mates. And if he has, it's because they've been there already and he was taking the Cowboys. So it's tough to get a read on Grams. I don't think Grams would avoid too many people. Maybe he would avoid Meats because of the way Meats plays.
Possible.
I don't know if Grams puts enough into it to take a team that he's got to build. So I don't.
Right. That's the question. I mean, a team like the Lions, I mean, as much as people have kind of flamed Grams for taking a bunch of running backs in the draft, like a team like the Lions, they added DJ Chark, they have enough cap space to go sign someone or whatever. But yeah, that team is still a little bit of a project right now, so I'm not
Yeah, I
super
think
sold.
for that reason, I don't think he takes them. I'm I'm actually leaning towards. I think the Bengals. I know he'd have
Yeah,
meets twice, but
Bengals.
I think the
Yeah,
Bengals. To me,
that's the
they're
team
like the
we've.
closest to the Cowboys. If
Yeah,
you just
they
look at like the
very
team
similar.
makeup.
QB, running back, receiver. They're just missing some of those defensive assets. Again, the Bengals are a team we've mentioned like for the last 15 picks. Like they really could go anywhere. That's the team that is just someone's going to take him and be like, oh, whoa, like
Yeah, and
you
I
guys.
think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are really gonna, and even Mixon to an extent, are gonna influence how high those Bengals go. Because I could see them going top 10 just as easily as I could see them going here at 22. So, but that's gonna put two step then. It will be our next pick. And two step, also a Cowboys fan, so not happy, I'm sure, to see them go just before him. But if he sees Grams there ahead of him, he already kind of planned for that they weren't going to fall. So where do you see two step going?
The two step is the Vikings currently. Who was he pre blip? He was the Falcons. Okay, and
Yes.
then kind of all over the place there. Like I don't have a great read there. I as a Cowboys fan, I'm sure he's accepted it the minute he saw Grams was ahead of him in the
Yeah.
rankings that he wasn't getting Dallas. So I don't think that's too much of a heartbreaker seeing Paulie take them.
Yep.
I think we're at the point in the draft where someone's going Lions. Although having spent all this time in the NFC North, I could see him grabbing a Texans or a Steelers type.
I could see that. I actually think this is the spot where the Chiefs go.
Oh, yep, they're still on the board. Yep, miss
I
overlooked
think
that one.
I
That's
think Mahomes being there is just it's just too much to have fun playing with. That I think he can go there. Another guy that I mean he's usually actually in the free agent chat and the draft chats. So he does take part in the offseason. Um, but I think you're talking about a top quarterback there, maybe the top quarterback,
maybe.
and a pretty solid offense to go with it. They got Ronald Jones, so the running back situation is pretty much taken care of now. Um, he seems to play pretty well. And then you got McDuffie was their first round pick. They also got Karloftis, a defensive end, so they addressed the defensive side of the ball. Brian Cook in the second round too at safety to replace Matthew. And then they got Sky Moore at receiver. He's going to be a guy that can somewhat pick up some of the slack from Tyreek Hill. Obviously, he's not Tyreek Hill, but um, he'll be serviceable. And you have Mecole Hardman on the other side. So I think two step, not really a guy that I think is going to avoid people. The guy, he's winning 2 games this year. I don't think he cares who's in his division because the outcome is probably going to be pretty similar. So I think he would have fun with the Chiefs. Misses out on the Cowboys by 2 picks, but I think he expected it. So I've got him going Chiefs.
Yeah, at this point in the draft, there's no reason the Chiefs or the Raiders or the Broncos should really be available. Like they've fallen far enough that really any of these guys could snag them up at perfectly reasonable. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think if you're a guy that's not concerned who's in your division, you're jumping up and down because some of these picks here are are great. I mean, you're not expecting it 23 to pick the Chiefs, and I think it's very possible they could fall there to two steps. So next up is a guy who it probably still be in the league at least for the draft. Maybe we'll see. Monty, where?
I'll let you take Monty first
Okay,
here. See what you got to think.
so Monty, he said he doesn't want to be in a division with me and Q again because he doesn't like that he loses in the regular season a bunch to us. So I think Monty is a guy that will kind of look at the divisions before he picks. And so for that reason, I think the AFC West is out. He's not going to follow QP. He's definitely not going to go AFC South with Prime and Faz and then take the Texans. That's going to put him at a hell of a disadvantage.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the AFC North, the Steelers are the clear uh, underdog team there, at least talent wise. So Grams, DW, and Meats all with better teams. I could see him maybe taking that. They have the rookie quarterback, but I think he avoids them. Um, I could see Monty doing. I could see him going the Rams. I think Clinkfield and Fig in a division. Monty can kind of push for that top spot in that division, especially with that roster early. And I mean, he trades away plenty of guys for draft picks, so missing picks now won't matter. He'll trade prime somebody for a third. But he avoids Dan in the NFC South. I just don't think the Lions or the Bears have enough there to excite him. And I think it's NFC West. I think it's gonna be the Rams.
Yeah, Rams. Everything you laid out there makes perfect sense. I think the Rams are certainly a possibility the way this is shook out. I could see him. I mean, the Lions and the Bears rosters are just so terrible. I could see him coming to the NFC North with me, but I don't think he wants to be at that disadvantage with those rosters. The other team I put down is, as much as he's been frustrated getting U and Q all the time, he loves that Broncos roster. He had them in primer, won a Super Bowl with them in primer, the whole deal. I think he won a Super Bowl. If not, he steamrolled through the regular season. Either way, he was a huge fan of them. They've added Russ. That team looks insane. I could absolutely see him just not being able to pass on them and go Broncos. But I like the Rams pick as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible that roster wins out. I guess it depends how much he doesn't like playing against QP, and then QP with the Chargers now, arguably a better team than he has with the Ravens. So, yeah, that's why I have him going to the Rams. But that's going to bring up Colt next. Colt kind of a wild card as well, but with limited teams there. What do you think for Colt?
We were running out of teams here for sure. I think we're far past the point in the draft, but we are still at this point where you're looking at divisions and you're trying not to, get stuck as, the heavy favorite to be third or fourth place.
Yep.
It's that weird juxtaposition. You have Lions and Bears sitting there with not a super hard division with me and KJ in it, but those rosters are just depleted, just so depleted. Then you have the Raiders and Bucks sitting there with some loaded rosters as RD's just crossing his fingers a few picks later that his Raiders make it to him.
Yeah, so I think Colt's going to go to a team that has a mobile quarterback. I don't think he goes Broncos again, though. I've got Colt actually going to the Bears.
That makes sense. This is where just Justin Fields on his own basically propels him over all the other teams.
I think he sees you as the Vikings and KJ as the Packers as maybe an opportunity to win. He's another guy like Figs that, he doesn't count himself out until halftime. But
yeah,
I could see him taking the Bears, thinking that's a division that he's at least got a shot to win. And especially knowing that you've got Noel, Spooky, Gouda all coming up, could take the Lions. So I've got Colt taking the Bears.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Mobile quarterback, got the throw power. Darnell Mooney can do some stuff offensively. Rest of that roster will come together eventually. He can, drop $80 million on John Ross in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure he will. So that brings up Noel next at 26. Noel took the Packers, and he had the Seahawks before that. So, both times X Factor quarterback. Still have two X Factor quarterbacks out there. What do you think Noel does?
This is a coin flip between Broncos and Bucks. I think he goes Bucks because having gone myself from Rodgers to Brady, like, you maintain some of that zip on the ball with Brady with, I think it's set foot leads, what it's called, or set pass lead, whatever it is. When standing, you get that, like, basically gunslinger. It's standing gunslinger. So I think Bucks is a no-brainer there with that team and that roster. And
yeah, I don't think there's any way he doesn't go with them. Now he does have to play Dan. That means, and he has been the Bucks before.
Okay.
But he also had his most success with the Bucks, so I'm going to give him the Bucks as well. Next up, Spooky. Spooky, a guy that loves to sling it. I don't think there's any way he passes on the Broncos, actually.
Yeah.
Not really any great divisions here to choose from as far as being easy, especially not with the rosters that you would end up with. And I think he probably regrets getting rid of Russell Wilson anyway, and now he gets a chance to kind of correct that and get an even better roster.
Yeah, Broncos are a no-brainer for him. He'd be thrilled with that. Division be damned. Like, you get Russ, you get all those weapons, and he can just absolutely sling the ball.
Yep, and then that's going to bring up Future next. What do you think Future does here?
I see future going Steelers if they're still there. It's a pretty similar team to the Saints he took right now. Not much for proven quarterback options, but they have that defense built out already. That D line's got some older vets that are very talented and can do some stuff. Has a
Yeah,
little bit of talent there at receiver with Claypool, etc. They drafted Pickens as well to pair with Claypool and Johnson. Najee Harris is there, and Future can do his thing. Play some
yeah,
man. Get Minka's got a safety who can man up. That's huge for him.
yeah. I think that's the having at least one side of the ball already pretty much ready built and ready to go. Especially if you're a guy that doesn't put a ton of time into the league, you just kind of want a team that you don't have to do a lot with. And I think that Steelers team, at least on one side of the ball, kind of is a perfect fit for him. And Najee Harris is a guy that's gonna be fun to play with, kind of like he does with Kamara. So that brings 29. We've got Dump. What do you think Dump does?
Who? So let's see. Which
So
four
we've got the
teams we got?
Lions, we've got the Texans, the Raiders, and the Panthers.
Okay, so Panthers. I guess I wasn't thinking Panthers earlier. I had put them down earlier, but yeah, I think Panthers end up going earlier if they make it to Dump. That's an absolute no-brainer for him. I think he's taking the Panthers because Dump wants to compete, but he
Yeah.
doesn't want to deal with
So
Q.
I've got, I'll put Dump down as the Panthers as well. I could see the other pick being the Lions just because um,
Thanks.
he could be the favorite in that division. And then the Lions, obviously, plenty to build with. And he did mention something about taking the Lions, and then he clearly did not go Lions in either draft. But I think the Panthers are a good pick. And then 30, we've got RD, another one where I think it's an obvious pick. This is
That's the easiest pick of the draft.
yeah, it's a team he was absolutely hoping would be there. So regardless of whether he picked first or last, I think this was the team that he was targeting, and I think there's no question RD goes and takes the Raiders. So that leaves two picks left. Uh, Gouda and QB. QB already has the Texans.
Oh
Um,
God.
where do you see QB going, and what does he leave for Gouda?
So if the Lions are there, that makes a ton of sense. Both, we've kind of touched on them a little bit earlier. Both Lions and Panthers are teams I wouldn't be shocked to see going in the top 10, 15 picks, just with the either youth or cap picks flexibility that either have. They've fallen down this mock just kind of by really the division factor and the just kind of the way it's shaken out. But
Yeah.
I don't think he can do the Texans again. I don't think there's any way he can do the Texans again.
No, I don't think there is. I mean, yeah, they have picks, but the Lions have picks too. What the Texans don't have is Jameson Williams and Aiden Hutchinson and even Matthew Stafford. I mean, as maybe not he may not be desirable, but God, he's better than anything the Texans have. So,
Yeah.
um, in that event, then that puts Gouda as the Texans in the AFC South with Faz, MYT, and Prime.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah, doesn't sound like it's gonna be a good time for him, but he does have a lot of extra picks.
Yeah, there's enough flexibility there to make do, but that Texans roster after losing Watson and obviously not having, the McCole Hardman that at least QB has right now, and Justin Reed left too. Justin Reed went to KC.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely
It's
an
bad.
uphill battle, and you're probably of the four teams probably the least talented user there with the least talented roster. It's going to be Finns in the AFC West all over again. But that's going to do it for this mock draft. We get in just in time for you to go on your lunch date with I can't remember what that guy's name is, but
Exactly.
think that's gonna do it. So
Yeah.
appreciate you being on. We'll have to check back in just around 100 days and see how well this goes, and probably end up better than the mock draft after we know and everybody's throwing out their smoke screens and what have you. But
Yeah.
thanks for being on.
Lucky.
Thanks for watching, guys. And this has been the way too early mock draft.
Way too early.